He took off her slave collar, not knowing it wasn't a collar, she wasn't a slave. The prison ship drifted in silence near a dead moon. Its hull was torn and dark like a wounded animal frozen in space. Most ships avoided this region. Sensors lied here. Signals bent and broke. But a lone human salvage craft moved closer, slow and careful. Evan checked his screen again. The ship had no active weapons and no clear ownership. Old prison design, alien build. He frowned. Prison ships meant trouble, but they also meant abandoned cargo and forgotten tech. He needed both. Fuel was low. Credits were lower. He docked through a broken airlock and stepped inside. The air was thin but breathable. Lights flickered along the long corridor. The walls were marked with symbols he could not read. Some were warnings. Some were prayers. Evan did not know the difference. His boots echoed as he moved forward. The ship felt wrong. Too quiet. Not dead, but waiting. His suit sensors picked up faint power in the lower decks. That was strange. Prison ships were usually stripped clean after accidents. This one still breathed. He followed the signal through narrow halls and sealed doors that opened only after he cut through them. He passed empty cells, most of them broken from the inside. Metal bars were bent outward. The sight made his stomach tighten. Whatever had been kept here did not leave quietly. At the deepest level, he found a single chamber, still sealed and intact. Soft light spilled through the cracks. A sign above the door showed a symbol shaped like a closed circle around a star. Evan had seen that mark before in old data logs. It meant property or control. He forced the door open. Inside, the room was clean. No damage. No signs of struggle. In the center stood a slender alien woman. She was not chained. She was not locked in a cage. She simply stood there, calm and still, wearing a plain gray suit. Around her neck was a smooth metal band, dull and heavy. She looked at Evan as if she had been expecting him. He froze, hand drifting toward his tool weapon. She did not move. Her eyes were dark, deeper than space, and full of something he could not name. The ship's computer spoke behind him in a flat, alien voice. Prisoner status active. Subject contained. Removal of restraint prohibited. Evan swallowed. A prisoner. A slave, maybe. He had seen collars like that before, used by cruel empires to control weaker species. His chest burned with anger. He looked at her again. She did not beg. She did not threaten. She only said one word, in broken human speech. Please. That was enough. Evan stepped closer. The collar had no visible lock, but his scanner showed a release point at the back. Old tech, but powerful. Dangerous to remove without codes. He hesitated for only a second. No one wears chains around me, he said. Her eyes widened. Not with hope, but with fear. No, she said. You must not. He mistook it for trauma. Fear of freedom. He had seen that too. Slowly, carefully, he placed his tool against the release point and forced it open. The collar clicked. The sound was small, but the effect was not. The ship shook hard. Lights exploded overhead. Alarms screamed in a dozen languages. Somewhere deep in the hull, something powered up with a roar like thunder. Evan stumbled back. The woman dropped to her knees, gasping, hands pressed to her neck. "What did I do?" Evan whispered. She looked up at him, eyes burning now. No longer calm. "You broke the seal," she said. Gravity shifted. Ah! Evan felt his stomach rise as the floor tilted, then snapped back. Metal screamed. The walls bent like soft clay, then froze again. The computer repeated one message over and over. Containment failure. Signal sent. Signal to who? Evan shouted. She stood slowly, trembling. To everyone who fears us. Evan backed away. You said you were a prisoner. I was, she replied. Not a slave. Outside the ship, space twisted for a heartbeat. A pulse raced outward faster than light, invisible but loud to every sensor in the sector. Evan felt very small. What are you? He asked. She closed her eyes. Someone who should not be free. The ship began to break apart. Evan grabbed her arm and ran. They barely reached his salvage craft before the prison ship tore itself open, metal folding inward like paper. As they launched away, Evan saw the dead moon crack, just a little, like a hairline fracture in stone. He stared at the woman beside him. She sat quietly, breathing slow, trying to stay calm. Far away, beyond known space, ancient systems woke up and turned their gaze toward humanity. And Evan realized his simple act of mercy had just changed everything. Evan sat at the controls of his small salvage craft, hands shaking. The woman, who had introduced herself as Lyra, stared out the window at the shredded prison ship, drifting into the void. The stars seemed sharper, colder, as if they were watching him. Every sensor on his craft was screaming with energy readings he could not understand. Something had awakened when he removed the device from Lyra's neck. Something powerful. I didn't know, he said, voice low. I thought it was a slave collar. Lyra turned toward him. Her eyes, dark and endless, reflected fear and anger both. It was never a collar, she said. It was a limiter. I am dangerous if it is removed. I have to control myself, or everything dies. Evan stared at her. He had seen humans with power, humans who could destroy cities, but nothing like this. The air around her seemed heavier, like gravity pressing in small waves. Objects in the cabin hummed and vibrated. Even his ship's hull shivered in response. I don't understand, he said. Why didn't anyone tell you this? Why were you called a prisoner? Because fear rules, she said quietly. My people were never slaves. We were contained to protect others, and sometimes ourselves. The universe does not forgive what we are. Evan swallowed hard. He thought of the ancient prison ship torn apart behind them, the signals, the alarms, the strange gravity waves. He realized that by freeing her, he might have done something far worse than he understood. Can you control it? He asked. Lyra shook her head. Not fully, not yet. I can contain a little, but without the limiter it is hard. I have never been this close to a human before. I do not know what will happen. The craft trembled again, and lights flickered. Evan gripped the controls tighter. Sensors indicated that the pulse from the prison ship had spread farther than he could calculate. Somewhere, someone, or something, was tracking them. Are they going to come after us? Evan asked. They will, Lyra said. They always come. My people, my enemies. They will not forgive interference. And humans are very visible now. Evan's heart raced. Humans had long believed themselves alone and insignificant in the galaxy. That belief had kept them safe. Until now. The stars ahead blinked strangely. A human patrol ship appeared on the sensors. Evan's relief was immediate, but Lyra's reaction was tense. She leaned back and whispered, Do not trust them. They will want to take me back. They will not understand what I am. Captain Rook's ship, a sleek patrol cruiser, glided alongside Evan's small craft. Communications opened. A sharp, commanding voice spoke. Identify yourself. You have intercepted a high-priority signal. Surrender the subject immediately. Evan shook his head. I'm not surrendering anything. She isn't a prisoner. She isn't your property. The patrol captain's tone changed. It became impatient, almost harsh. You do not understand. This alien is dangerous. Containment is necessary. We are authorized to use force if required. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Force will not work. You do not know what happens if I am provoked. You cannot control it. You will not survive the consequences. Evan looked at her, feeling both awe and fear. Then we run. We survive together. He activated the engines fully, slipping into faster trajectories, dodging patrols, weaving through asteroid debris. Lyra stayed silent, her hands resting lightly on her knees, as if sensing the environment around her, feeling it shift and change. Small waves of energy passed through the cabin. Evan felt the ship react as though it had its own life. Hours passed in tense silence. Lyra finally spoke, voice soft but deliberate. You must understand, what I can do is not just power. It is perception, change, and control. Without the limiter, I sense everything around me. I feel the currents of matter, the pull of gravity, the flow of energy. I can bend them, and if I am not careful, I can break them. Evan nodded, trying to absorb her words. The magnitude of what he had done began to hit him. He had acted with courage, thinking he was doing right, but the universe around him had changed in an instant. Suddenly, the sensors picked up multiple signals converging from different points. Alien ships of unknown design. Wardens, she called them. She explained quickly. They are hunters. My people fear them. They do not negotiate. They kill to maintain balance. They have sensed the limiter is removed. They know I am free. Evan's mind raced. He knew nothing about space battles against creatures with powers like hers, but he also knew the humans behind him would follow orders and attempt to take her by force. He could not allow it. Then we fight, he said. No, Lyra said sharply. You cannot fight me, and they cannot either. We must escape. Cleverness, misdirection, and human resilience are your strengths. Use them. The first of the wardens appeared on sensors. Strange ships, black and angular, with energy fields glowing faintly. Their movements were precise, almost mechanical. Evan maneuvered as best he could, weaving through asteroids, drawing on old navigation tricks. Lyra sensed each ship before Evan saw it, whispering warnings that kept them just out of reach. Hours turned into days. Each encounter was close, tense, but Evan began to notice something. Lyra did not use her power to attack. She only reacted, contained, and guided them. He asked why. Every action has cost, she said. If I strike, if I bend space or energy without care, lives will end. Even yours, even mine. I do not want that. I cannot risk it until I understand what freedom truly means. Evan realized he had been wrong about her. She was not just dangerous. She was conscious, disciplined, and aware in a way no human could be. The galaxy had labeled her a slave to hide the fear she inspired, and he had freed her. As they approached a hidden human outpost, Evan wondered how much humanity was ready for. Lyra's pulse of energy had already changed the balance. The patrol ships, the wardens, the entire sector was watching now. He made a decision. They could not hide forever. If humans saw her as a threat, she would be taken. If aliens caught them, they would die. Only one thing remained. Trust. Not blind trust, but calculated. Partnership. If she could teach him and he could help her, maybe they could survive. Maybe humanity could survive this first contact with something greater than themselves. Lyra looked at him and, for the first time since he freed her, nodded faintly. The ship's sensors picked up a new signal, one much larger than the patrols or the wardens. Something was awakening further in deep space, drawn by her release. Evan gripped the controls tighter. "Whatever it is," he said, "we face it together." She smiled faintly, not with joy, but acknowledgement. And the small salvage craft slipped further into the unknown, carrying a human and an alien whose freedom had changed everything. Evan and Lyra had been traveling through uncharted space for days. Every jump through the stars brought new tension. The wardens never stopped following. Their black ships moved with perfect coordination, predicting every human maneuver. Evan grew tired, but he could not stop. He had promised her safety. Lyra sat quietly in the small cabin, her hands resting on her knees. She could feel the wardens approach long before Evan saw them on the sensors. Every curve of space, every fluctuation in energy, whispered warnings to her. She was patient, calculating, and cautious, yet fear clung to her like a shadow. Evan checked the sensors again. 3 wardens were closing in, faster than they should have been able to. He frowned. Their movements were precise, almost as if they knew exactly where he would turn. He adjusted the engines and pushed the craft harder, hoping to stay ahead. "Do you think we can outrun them?" he asked. Lyra shook her head. "No. Speed alone will not save us. We must be clever." "Clever?" Evans said, exasperated. "I'm already pushing this ship to its limits." She looked at him, eyes dark with warning. "Clever does not mean faster. It means unexpected. Humans have creativity. Use it." Evan thought quickly. The asteroids around them were dense, a dangerous maze. He could try to hide, but that might be a trap. He needed a plan that no alien could anticipate. He led the craft through a cluster of asteroids, weaving sharply, making the wardens adjust constantly. Lyra guided him silently, feeling the currents of energy in space. She whispered when a field of debris could collapse, or when a gravitational wave approached. Evan followed her guidance, impressed by her perception. She was like nothing he had ever met. The wardens fired. Energy blasts ripped through the void, but Evan used the asteroids for cover. Each blast that missed made his heart pound faster. Lyra gritted her teeth. Even with restraint, the pulses of energy around her intensified. She felt herself ready to act, ready to defend, but she forced calm. One wrong move, and Evan would not survive. Hours passed like this, tension rising with every maneuver. Evan began to notice that the wardens were learning. Their attacks were more precise. They anticipated turns and gaps. He realized that they were not just hunting, they were studying. "We need a trap," Lyra said finally. "Something that turns their strength against them. We cannot outrun them forever, and they will not give up." Evan nodded. "Then we make them follow into a zone they cannot control." He steered toward a field of small, unstable planetoids. Lyra felt the risk immediately. Energy fields from her body responded to the instability, making the planetoids shift slightly, amplifying the chaos. "Careful," she warned. "A wrong push and the field collapses. Even we might not survive." Evan's hands were steady. "It's our best chance." They entered the unstable zone. The wardens followed without hesitation. Then Evan began to use the planetoids as cover, weaving unpredictably. Lyra added her subtle energy guidance, nudging gravity here, bending energy there. The wardens found themselves dodging not just Evan, but forces they could not predict. One ship crashed against a small planetoid. Another got caught in a shifting gravitational pull. The last warden hesitated. That hesitation was all Evan needed. He pushed the engines forward and escaped the zone, leaving chaos behind. Breathing heavily, Evan looked at Lyra. That worked. They didn't expect it. Lyra nodded, but her expression was serious. It worked, but not without warning. They will adapt. We cannot rely on tricks forever. They continued on, moving toward a hidden human outpost. Evan knew that the humans there would not know what to do with Lyra. They would see her power and fear it, just as the wardens did. But they had no other choice. As they approached the outpost, a small fleet of human ships appeared on the sensors. Captain Rook's voice came over comms again, sharper this time. You have breached restricted space. Identify yourself or face engagement. Evan made a quick decision. We come in peace, but we will not surrender her. There was silence. Then the fleet adjusted their approach, cautious but ready. Evan maneuvered carefully, guiding the craft toward the nearest docking bay. Lyra felt every heartbeat in the fleet, every flicker of intent. Humans were unpredictable, but she sensed they were curious and cautious. She had seen many species in her lifetime, and none had the same kind of raw courage, the same willingness to face danger without full understanding. Humans were different. The docking sequence completed, they were inside the station. Evan hoped this would buy them time to explain, to prepare, to survive. As they entered the station, alarms blared. Sensors indicated the wardens were still following. They had adapted to the trap and were now coordinating with new tactics. The station's crew looked confused and alarmed at Lyra. Her presence was unlike anything they had encountered. Evan stepped forward, raising his hands in explanation. She is not a threat. She is not a prisoner. She is dangerous, Lyra finished for him. I am dangerous. I must be understood before I can be trusted. The station commander, a tall human named Merrick, narrowed his eyes. We cannot just let you roam free. You will need containment. No, Evan said firmly. Containment is what got her here. Freedom is what keeps her alive. If you confine her, you will only make her fight back, and you cannot stop her. Lyra looked at the humans carefully. They were cautious, but they were not blind. She saw a spark of understanding in some of them. She nodded slowly. I will not harm your people, she said. If you try to control me, I will defend myself. Marie considered the situation. The wardens were close. They would attack soon. There was no time for politics, he finally said. Then we help you prepare. But you follow our guidance. Evan glanced at Lyra. She met his eyes and nodded. It was a small agreement, but it was enough. Outside, the stars shifted. Wardens were coming, but inside the station, humans and an alien whose freedom had just been restored began the first steps toward an alliance that might change the course of the galaxy. The tension was far from over. The next battle was approaching, and everyone had much to learn about trust, courage, and the power that could not be contained. Inside the human outpost, Evan and Lyra moved cautiously. Every sensor and camera in the station seemed alive, alert to their presence. Crew members whispered, some staring, others avoiding eye contact. Lyra could feel their fear, their curiosity, and their doubt. She had faced countless species across the galaxy, but humans were different. They had something raw, something unpredictable, something she could sense but could not name. Captain Rook approached them. His expression was serious. We have to act quickly. The wardens are gathering outside. They will strike soon, and they will not negotiate. Your power, he said to Lyra, is beyond anything we understand. But we will use what humans know: strategy, sacrifice, and ingenuity. Evan nodded. Then we fight smart. Not strong, not alone. Lyra listened, absorbing every word. She had always controlled her power with the limiter. Without it, she could sense everything in the station, every energy flow, every shift of gravity, every heartbeat. She was aware of the wardens outside, of their patterns, and of the humans preparing to fight. Yet, she remained calm. Panic would destroy them all. Marek, the station commander, coordinated the defenses. Human ships moved into position. Old vessels, thought obsolete, armed with whatever weapons could be adapted for the Warden's technology. Engineers and crew ran check systems and loaded energy pulses. Each human seemed ordinary, but when combined with careful planning, they became something formidable. Evan helped organize escape routes and backup plans. He noticed that humans, despite fear, were resourceful. They made traps, misdirection strategies, and shield placements. Lyra observed silently, recognizing the ingenuity. Even without her power, humans could alter outcomes by using what they had: brains, courage, and unpredictability. Then the first wardens appeared. Outside the station's shields, their ships moved like shadows, coordinated and precise. Their energy pulses lit the void. Human sensors struggled to predict every move. But humans adapted. They used asteroids for cover, redirected energy fields, and coordinated unexpected attacks. Lyra felt the flow of power, and though she restrained herself, her presence alone altered the environment. Gravity subtly shifted around her, metal surfaces hummed, and energy flowed differently. The wardens noticed, confused by unpredictable forces. Evan watched the battle unfold. It was not just humans versus aliens. It was strategy, instinct, and understanding. Humans did not have Lyra's raw power, but they had each other and a determination to survive. They fought in ways the wardens could not anticipate. Each human action, each calculated risk, disrupted the aliens' coordination. Lyra realized she could help without using overwhelming force. Small nudges, subtle guidance of energy currents, timing shifts, and environmental adjustments. She whispered warnings to Evan about ambush points, weak shields, and energy surges. Together, human ingenuity and her subtle interventions created opportunities for escape and counterattack. The wardens became frustrated. They had underestimated humans, just as they had underestimated Lyra. The combined resistance was stronger than any single power. The humans' ability to improvise, to adapt, and to make sacrifices shocked the alien pursuers. Even Lyra, powerful beyond measure, found herself guided by human decision-making. Hours passed and the battle raged. Explosions lit the void. Energy pulses distorted space, and ships maneuvered with precision and risk. Evan felt exhaustion, but also awe. Humanity, often underestimated, demonstrated intelligence, courage, and heart. Each human action, each creative solution, shifted the battle slightly in their favor. Then, the wardens regrouped for a massive strike. Their intent was clear: eliminate the outpost, destroy the humans, and capture Lyra. The station's crew braced for the attack. Shields were at maximum, weapons primed, escape routes ready. Everyone moved with purpose, guided by strategy and experience. Lyra prepared herself, sensing the impending surge of energy. She would intervene if necessary, but only with precision. The first wave of attack hit. Energy fields collided, creating explosions that rippled through space. Ships maneuvered sharply, dodging debris and energy pulses. Lyra felt the currents, nudged shields, and redirected power subtly. She acted with careful calculation, not brute force. Humans exploited the openings she created, hitting critical points on the warden's ships. The aliens faltered. Evan coordinated human ships, guiding them to exploit weaknesses. Every decision counted. Every movement mattered. The wardens realized their advantage was slipping. Humans, often dismissed as fragile, were using strategy, adaptation, and courage to challenge an advanced alien force. Lyra finally spoke to the humans, explaining how subtle energy shifts could help. Her instructions were clear and actionable, allowing the human fleet to anticipate movements, defend critical points, and counterattack effectively. The wardens, powerful and confident, were unprepared for this combined force of human ingenuity and controlled alien power. The battle continued for hours. Warden ships were destroyed, others disabled. Humans adapted to every challenge. Evan, Lyra, and Captain Rook coordinated carefully. The wardens began to retreat, their initial confidence replaced by confusion and frustration. As the last warden ship withdrew, silence fell over the station. The humans, exhausted but alive, breathed in relief. Lyra, still sensing the surrounding energy, relaxed slightly. The immediate threat had passed, but the galaxy was now aware. Their actions had consequences beyond the station. Evan looked at Lyra. "We did it, we survived." She shook her head gently. "We survived this attack, yes, but the universe will not forget. My freedom is known now. Others will come. We must prepare for what is next." Captain Rook nodded. "Then we prepare. Humans may not have the raw power you do, but we have resilience, strategy, and determination. That is enough to survive." Lyra smiled faintly, a rare expression. Then perhaps humanity is not so fragile after all. Evan realized that he had not just helped free her, but had witnessed humanity at its best. Courage, ingenuity, and unity. They had faced an advanced enemy, and their choices, combined with Lyra's controlled power, had made the difference. The stars outside the station were calm again, but distant sensors detected other movements. More ships, more eyes, and more threats. Lyra's freedom had changed the balance. Humans had proven themselves capable of challenging advanced powers. And in that realization, Evan felt hope, fear, and determination, knowing that the coming battles would test everything they had learned and everything they were capable of. The aftermath of the battle left the outpost in a tense state. Ships were damaged, systems strained, and the human crew exhausted. Evan moved among them, coordinating repairs, checking on injured crew members, and maintaining morale. Lyra stood nearby, observing, learning how humans recovered from adversity. Even without using her full power, she understood that survival required more than strength. It required resilience, courage, and teamwork. Captain Rook gathered the leadership in the command center. "The wardens will return," he said. "And they will be smarter. We have to prepare for what they cannot predict." Human ingenuity combined with Lyra's abilities. Evan nodded. "We need to train, plan, and set traps. We can't just wait for them to attack again." Lyra stepped forward. Her voice was calm, authoritative. "If we act strategically, we can limit their impact. My power can defend, disrupt, and guide. But if I use it fully, there are consequences. I must be precise. If I overextend, we could all be destroyed." Humans listened, learning from her observations. Engineers reinforced shields. Tactical officers studied patterns of the wardens, and pilots practiced maneuvers designed to exploit weaknesses. Evan coordinated simulations, testing every possible scenario. Each human contribution added a layer of security. Lyra contributed subtle guidance, suggesting energy flows, gravitational shifts, and timing adjustments. She restrained her full power, yet even her measured interventions amplified human effectiveness. Days turned into nights in the station. Tensions ran high, but human determination never wavered. Evan noticed the subtle change in Lyra. She had begun to trust humans, Understanding their creativity and adaptability, she still feared losing control, but she also recognized potential allies. She taught humans how to anticipate alien movements, how to adjust energy outputs, and how to coordinate attacks with environmental conditions. Then the sensors detected a massive energy surge approaching. The wardens were returning, stronger and more coordinated. Evan's heart raced. He knew that human strategy alone would not be enough. Lyra's guidance and careful control of her abilities would be essential. As the wardens approached, Evan and Lyra stood side by side in the control room. "Are you ready?" he asked. Lyra nodded. "I will act only when necessary. You must trust the humans. They are clever. They are resilient. They will survive if you let them." The battle began. The wardens moved with precision, attacking in waves. Human ships responded with calculated maneuvers. Shields flared, weapons fired, and the void of space lit up with energy. Lyra's subtle interventions guided the flow of energy, shifted gravitational fields, and created openings. Humans exploited every opportunity. They adapted, reacted, and improvised in ways the wardens could not anticipate. Evan coordinated movements, directing ships into advantageous positions. The wardens became frustrated, their strikes less effective. Lyra's presence amplified human ingenuity without overwhelming them. She acted as a force multiplier, not a weapon of destruction. Her restraint ensured that humans remained in control of their actions. During the battle, a critical moment arrived. One of the wardens aimed a devastating attack directly at the station's main power core. Evan realized that if it struck, the station would be destroyed. He looked at Lyra, who had been guiding smaller movements until now. "Now," he said. Lyra closed her eyes, sensing the flow of energy. With precise control, she redirected the attack, bending space and energy around the core. The blast missed, dissipating harmlessly into space. Humans cheered, realizing the synergy between their strategy and Lyra's controlled power. The wardens faltered, their confidence shaken. Evan directed a counterattack, coordinating human ships to target weak points. Lyra continued to guide, making subtle adjustments that amplified human effectiveness. Slowly, systematically, the warden ships were disabled, forced to retreat, or destroyed. Their superior technology could not overcome human creativity combined with careful alien guidance. Hours passed, and the wardens finally withdrew. The human fleet, though damaged, had survived. Lyra stood quietly, her energy calm. She had used enough power to protect, to guide, and to enhance human actions, but not enough to risk catastrophic consequences. Her restraint and precision had made the difference. Evan approached her. "You did it," he said. "We all did it, together." She nodded. "Yes, but this is only the beginning. Others will come. My freedom is known. The galaxy is changing. We must be ready for what comes next." Captain Rook addressed the crew. "Today, humanity has proven its worth. We have survived an advanced enemy through courage, strategy, and determination. But the galaxy is watching. Our choices from this moment forward will define our future." Evan looked at Lyra, understanding that their partnership had reshaped more than just this battle. Human resilience, ingenuity, and the ability to adapt had combined with her precise power to create a force that even advanced aliens could not ignore. They had survived, but the cost had been high. Exhaustion, tension, and fear weighed heavily on them. Lyra's gaze returned to the stars. She sensed distant movements, signals of potential threats. Her freedom had changed the balance of power. Humans were no longer isolated, untested, or insignificant. They had proven their worth through intelligence, creativity, and courage. But the galaxy was vast, and their challenges were only beginning. Evan placed a hand on her shoulder. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together. We've learned that humans are stronger than anyone expects, and together we are even stronger." Lyra smiled faintly, a rare expression of acknowledgement. "And perhaps humanity has a future worth protecting. I will trust you to guide it wisely." Outside the station, the stars remained quiet for now, but the universe had taken notice. The wardens had retreated, but other eyes were watching, learning, and preparing. Evan and Lyra knew that freedom, power, and responsibility were now intertwined. Their journey had changed everything, and the coming battles would test every skill, every strategy, and every ounce of courage humanity and its allies could muster. The galaxy was quiet, but only for a moment. Evan and Lyra stood on the observation deck of the station, looking at distant stars. Their recent victory against the Wardens had given humans confidence, but it also revealed new challenges. The freedom of Lyra, her powerful presence, and the combined effectiveness of humans had shifted the balance. Across the void, other species were watching, learning, and preparing. Evan leaned against the railing. "Do you think it's really over?" he asked. He knew it was not. The Wardens would return, and other enemies would notice that humans and Lyra could act together. He had freed her with the best intentions, but that single act had changed the course of the galaxy. Lyra stood silently, sensing the flow of energy around the station, the currents of matter, and the distant movements of ships and civilizations. Her eyes reflected the stars, deep and endless. "No," she said quietly, "it is never over. Freedom has consequences, but we can choose how to face them. Humans have strength beyond expectation. I have seen it, and now they know what is possible when courage meets strategy." Evan nodded. He understood that humanity was no longer isolated. The universe had taken notice. Lyra's presence was a symbol, a reminder that power could be restrained and guided, and that humans, despite being young and inexperienced, could rise to challenges through intelligence, creativity, and unity. The station received a signal, distant and encrypted. Unknown origins, but clearly monitoring the events around the Wardens. Captain Rook analyzed it quickly. "They've seen what we can do. This message is a warning, or perhaps an invitation. Either way, they are aware of us now." Evan felt a mix of fear and excitement. "Do we respond?" he asked. Lyra looked at him. "We cannot ignore it, but we must act with understanding, not haste. Force alone will not define survival. Wisdom, coordination, and courage will." The humans on the station worked quickly to repair ships, reinforce defenses, and prepare for whatever came next. Lyra taught them subtle ways to use energy fields, gravitational shifts, and spatial currents to enhance their abilities without depending on raw, destructive power. She emphasized restraint, control, and awareness. Even her guidance could reshape outcomes, but it required careful balance. Evan realized that their partnership had transformed humans. They had seen power that could destroy entire fleets, yet they had survived by using intelligence, adaptation, and courage. Lyra's freedom had not only changed her life, but had expanded human potential. Humans were no longer passive observers in a galaxy ruled by fear and power. They were participants, innovators, and defenders. Days turned into weeks. Humans and Lyra worked together to establish communication networks, defensive strategies, and training programs. The Wardens had retreated, but the galaxy was vast, and their eyes were everywhere. Lyra could sense distant signals, ships moving and civilizations reacting to the change her freedom had caused. Each action carried weight, and every decision mattered. Evan watched as humans learned, adapted, and thrived under pressure. He saw their courage, creativity, and resilience. He knew that the Wardens and other alien forces underestimated humans, as they had underestimated him and Lyra. That underestimation was humanity's advantage. With careful strategy, unity, and courage, humans could survive, even against impossible odds. One evening, the observation deck was quiet. Lyra and Evan stood together, looking at a distant galaxy that seemed alive with energy. "You have changed them," she said. "Humans are stronger, braver, and more capable than most believe. You showed me that strength does not always come from raw power." Evan smiled faintly. "And you showed them that restraint and guidance are just as important. We needed each other." Lyra nodded. "Yes, but remember, the galaxy is watching. Our actions will shape the next encounters. Freedom is not safe, but it is meaningful. Every choice matters now." Evan took a deep breath, feeling the weight of responsibility. Humanity had gained a new reputation, not as conquerors, not as weaklings, but as those who could act with courage, intelligence, and unity. Lyra's freedom had inspired them, challenged them, and changed the course of their future. The stars remained distant and quiet for now, but both Evan and Lyra knew that the universe was vast, full of dangers, observers, and possibilities. They had survived the Wardens, demonstrated human potential, and shaped a new path. The next challenge would come, and they would face it together, combining intelligence, courage, and the careful guidance of freedom. Evan looked at Lyra one last time before turning toward the fleet command. "Whatever comes next, we will face it. Humanity has learned, and we have allies. Strength is not enough, but together we are prepared." Lyra's expression was calm but resolute. "Then let the galaxy watch. We will meet the future with courage, wisdom, and unity. Freedom is never simple, but it is worth protecting." And with that, humanity and their alien ally moved forward, ready for the challenges the galaxy would bring, proving that courage, intelligence, and careful action could change the course of even the most powerful forces. The universe had witnessed something new, a human spirit willing to rise, adapt, and survive, guided by partnership, wisdom, and the understanding of true power.